Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. I feel like I'm such a broken record, but excited for this one. We've got a lot of stuff happening in the back end here. We've got some updates for you, of course. You might have noticed some things changed on the claim page, so we'll dive into all of that today. Before we get started, every week we got to give you a little housekeeping, of course. So please keep the chat farmer friendly. We are a very welcoming and lovely community here, so please uphold that with us. If you have any questions, please put them in the YouTube live chat. That is the only area we are able to access the questions from, so make sure you're adding them in now. I mark them off as we go, so put them in right now if you have any. And without further ado, let me bring up Luke.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going, Luke?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah, no, we had a pretty good week this last week. I was actually in Art Basel for a few days, just meeting with some people in person. Yeah, so it's really nice to get in front of people in person and talk to people. So yeah, no, we're excited to talk to you guys today. We'll give you guys a few updates on what we've been up to over the last couple of weeks, what the plan is up until the end of the year too. I don't want to spoil too much either. But yeah, no, we have some fun things planned before the end of the year, and we have some new things that we'll be doing pretty soon as well. So yeah, no, we have a bunch of exciting stuff coming up. So we'll just kind of dive into that too. And then we made some changes to the airdrop allocations with Barry as well. So we'll fill you guys in on that and what's going in to that side of things as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to start off this live actually just giving some praise and shout outs to people in our community. Yesterday, we were on a live with another community, and it was great. If you just scroll in our Twitter feed, you can probably find the recording there. And it was lovely, except there were two Lukes, which was very confusing. But besides that, it was great. And he was asking us all about our community, and it got me really excited. And I just thought this would be such a good opportunity to shout out. So obviously, so TIFF, one of the guilds, sent us merch. Really cool. We thought this was really fun because we got all like the Pixels logos on them. Super fun. We've got some really great guilds in our community. So obviously this is TIFF, and then there's, oh my gosh, W3G, 0x1, LFG. There's RPG now too, and I'm probably missing a bunch, but it just really proves like how strong and incredible all of our community is. And then I wanted to give a little shout out to some other people just off the top of my head, which is probably, I should have made a list, but I think I mean, first of all, I think Blue's Clue made these shirts, which is fun. Hath creates incredible videos. Dion had a really great tool. Blade made Pixelpedia. There's some new websites as well. Natron, I think is their name, made Pixels Data website. BHS literally just posted like an hour ago that they're making a website as well, Pixels Codex. I don't know if you saw that one, Luke, but it's kind of cool because if you click on the items tab, it has like pictures of all of the items. And then obviously Midnight makes incredible infographics in our server. I think Digitalk was making some too. Over on YouTube and Twitter, we've got Michaela making really cool videos. And the Hath I already mentioned. And then on our server as well, Rag Poet, Lolito making really fun stickers and memes. There's just so much. Like there's so many incredible people in our community. So huge shout out to everyone here. We wouldn't be here without you. And I'm just so excited as we continue to grow. And like I said, we were on this live yesterday, and just being asked about our community makes me so like giddy and excited because there's just so many positive things to say. So thank you and shout out to everyone here.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I can show the back too.
Oh yeah.
Footy jersey.
Okay. Well, mine says Heidi. They're fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess let's just kind of give an overview of where we're at too. The game has been out for only like 17 days, which is actually insane. I feel like I've aged 2 years in 17 days. But we need to remind our community again, this game is 17 days old. And we've already made a ton of progress in the last 17 days. We've released like 2 or 3 updates with major content improvements. We have more coming over the end of the month as well too. Last week we introduced in-game trading, and I was so excited to see that get introduced. I've been waiting for that for a while to kind of see what the econ would kind of settle into. What's really interesting is people have been actually trading Berry for, US dollars. People have been introducing like different like external ways to trade in pixels. Like there's different discords for trading in pixels as well too. So it's really cool to see that economy come together. It seems like the actual Berry economy right now is actually holding together stronger than we thought it would too. We took a very ship first approach, and we did our best to balance it. But yeah, we're pretty happy with the way that things are coming in together right now as well too. And we're really excited to see what happens when we actually introduce withdraw and deposit from pixels as well too. So we'll give you some updates on the dashboard and what's going on with that. If you guys noticed, we changed the Berry allocation. We were much more generous this time around when we thought about the Berry distribution. And the ideal situation was we kind of wanted to give the top 20% of users about a month's worth of progress into the game. And then, the users above the top 20% got significantly more. I think like the top 2 to 3 users in the game who put a ton of time and energy into the game ended up with something like 1 million Berry tokens. And we'll introduce new ways to actually, give them compelling reasons to spend them in game pretty soon. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things we've been thinking about in terms of like, okay, how do we actually burn all the Berry that we're introducing? How do we make the game more fun? How do we make the game more compelling to decorate? So we have a bunch of new items that are going to be shipping within the next week as well too, in terms of decorations. That'll give you a bit more customizability on your farm. Like for example, we just met today and we're going to be shipping like colored slabs that you can place down your farms and kind of introduce like that pixel art that you guys used to make. What's great about having a game before is we saw all the really awesome ways that you can customize your farms before. And we kind of want to start moving and inching towards that really slowly again. As we introduce more industries, as we introduce more mechanics, we want to see these farms get crazy looking. And give you guys more freedom and flexibility to do that within these new confines of the game rules that we've created and the economy we've created. So yeah, we're really excited to see how that all shapes up as we start to introduce more of the Web3 components, and as we start to introduce more game components as well too. And just a side note on general strategy that we're operating under too. If you guys haven't been following, we have kind of a strategy of, for the next 2 months, we're really focused on retention in game. Before we start to expand again, we just released a whole new version of the game, and there's a whole bunch of optimizations that we can be doing in order to kind of make the game more fun and make the game more engaging. And how we kind of measure the terms of like, okay, is this game actually hitting and sticking with you guys, is we look at key metrics like retention and playtime per user. Right now our retention is actually looking much better than we thought it would. And our retention curve is looking quite flat. I think at day 7 we have something like 25 to 30% retention, which is actually very, very good in this industry. It's actually increasing with each cohort too, as we've been introducing new updates. So that's super exciting to us. And essentially the plan is we want to kind of get to industry standards in this type of game that we're making. And like not just industry standards, we want to be very, very good in the industry comparable to Web2 games before we start introducing, other aspects and pushing more onto the Web3 growth side of things as well. So yeah, we're really excited with where we're at, just being 17 or 18 days into the game. And we're really excited for what's coming too. So that's kind of the intention. Focus on making the game even more fun, really focusing on what are the high impact things we can do to increase these retention numbers, and then moving on to growth and moving on to what comes with the pixel token as well. So if you guys have noticed, we, again, redid the very redistribution, and those claims will be live pretty soon. We almost have the Magnet integration available. I don't want to say today, but it might be today when these claims will actually be going live. We're still testing and making sure they're really solid. But yeah, soon you're going to be able to actually claim that berry token, get it into your wallets, and actually spend it in game. And we'll also introduce some new ways to burn tokens as well. I think one of the funnest items, or most fun items we're about to introduce, is we're having an artist make this item right now. We're going to make it extremely expensive because it's just going to be fun. It's going to be like a flashing sign that says, "I am rich." We're going to experiment with a bunch of different things like that. So, and then, yeah, we have a bunch of new content coming soon as well. So expect that. And yeah, we're more than happy to answer tons of questions today. In terms of agenda. Oh, yeah, I just like to chill, relax.
Just saw some tractors going by there.
Just a bit of ambiance, it relaxes me, the farming content in the background.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, questions. So if you have any questions, throw them in the live chat here. I think this is a really good one.
So we're not going to provide like a direct ratio to trade Berry and Pixel. Essentially, like, Pixel will be available on exchanges. We're working on that right now, and all the plans around that. But yeah, essentially, markets will decide if there is trade between the two. We don't really have any hands on that. And that's the cool thing about Web3 gaming, right? We can introduce assets into this game. Our job as a Web3 game is to make a game that's fun and people want to play. And I think we need to make that clear again too. Our job is not to like make people money, if that makes sense. I know that's like a controversial thing to say, but if we do our job of just making a game that's fun and then add in the Web3 components, like the market will decide what happens essentially. But for us, our focus is making the game fun, growing the game with more users, and creating, assets on chain. And that's all that we're focused on.
Okay. Let me just pull up here. Yeah, so this kind of is similar question, or just like a more in-depth version of what you were just talking about.
Well, yeah, see, this is a benefit for us too in complexity in building and compliance if we don't offer liquidity for Berry ourselves as well. So there's strategy that we're using right now too, in order to maximize the amount of fun that we can make the game essentially. So we only have so many resources. And it's funny because I think people think that we're a bigger company than we are. In terms of like a Web3 company, we're actually much more efficient capital-wise than a lot of these other, a lot of other companies too. Not to like talk down on any other company. It's just like some of these other companies are receiving like 15, 20 million in funding. They're much more resourced than we are. So we have to be really smart with where we put resources in. And for us, we want to focus as much as possible on making the game as fun as possible. So, any way that we can, not have to worry about certain overhead, we're going to make decisions that kind of allow us to do that. So this is one of those things.
Okay. Sorry, the comments are going off here. Okay. So stuff like this. So they're asking for a means of transportation, a bicycle, a taxi or bus, and all of that kind of stuff. We love ideas like this. Like, we love them. So obviously I can't say yes, for sure this is happening, or no. But if you have any feature requests or ideas like this, please go in our help center and fill out the forms. We've got tons of different forms in there for different reasons, but I think this would probably be best in either feedback or feature request, most likely. So please just continue to add them there. They're so much fun. And, some similar questions here. So we want Christmas decorations.
No comment.
No comment. Okay. And then, do you have plans for in-game mini games like poker or other players?
Yeah, it's funny. We used to have those. And we have like a list of mini games that we can add back in that, wouldn't be made by us. Like, we used to do embeddable mini games in our old product. That's something that we might just bring back. And that actually might be a fun thing where maybe we can just add that as a purchasable item that you can add on your LAN. we used to, yeah, if you guys follow us and like, like we used to be a virtual spaces and events company and we moved into gaming. We like the idea of creating our own games better, but there are small wins that we could probably get by adding embeddable games back into it. We'll look into that because that's not super high dev effort and we have experience doing that already.
Okay, and we just got another good question about kind of stuff we were talking about earlier. So just to clear up, being a docs team and based-ish in the US, is Pixel token at risk of being considered a security?
We don't believe so, since we're really clear in our messaging around it. We never talk about price, and in fact, like we think talking about price is really silly. Like this is an in-game token that's meant to be used in game. And we're going to provide utility for the token day one as well. That's extremely important to us to make sure that the token actually has use in game and people want to be using it in game. We think some people want this to be a security in our community, but we we are very much avoiding that. This is not an investment vehicle. This is not something where you should be, aping into it to make like a ton of profits from it. This is an in-game token and it's meant to progress you in game.
Mm-hmm. And then like, I think there was another few questions about token stuff. So will the Berry token be listed on an exchange in the future?
Yeah, we're still debating this. Right now, we're leaning more towards just if people want to put it on dexes or they want to provide liquidity pools themselves, they can do that. I mean, it's an ERC20, so we can't stop that. And that's kind of the cool thing about Web3, right? You guys own these assets, not us. So you guys can kind of also make the decisions on, if you want to list it on there or if you want to provide liquidity for it. That's really out of our hands.
And when do you anticipate the Pixel token allocation being shared?
Yeah, so we're just wrapping that up now, actually, with our partners. So we have we're kind of rewriting the white paper and the white papers. And we're coming up with better systems around that too. We feel much more solid about the support that we've gotten around this. And we think this is going to be much better for everybody to take the time with it. So it looks like, you'll probably see these allocations. We're hoping before end of year. That's kind of the idea. So essentially what you're going to see is a lockup period as well too. So you're not going to see utility for a little bit. And then essentially we're probably going to allocate the airdrop rewards, or I think we're calling it pre-alpha rewards, before we do any like exchange or listing or anything like that too. Again, it's extremely important for us to make sure that this token can be used in game before there's any use in it as well. So, that just helps with so many different things. And also we just think like ethically it should be used in game. Like we don't want to create this weird scenario where you just have this token that's not being used at all too. So yeah, that's kind of the process that we're taking around with it. But yeah, we have all those details getting worked out now. We'll share that when it comes.
Okay, and just to switch gears here, we get asked this question a lot. So for some of you, you might have heard this a lot, but for any newcomers here, I think it's really fun to hear kind of like the backstory of Pixels. So Luke, do you want to give a little bit of information?
Yeah, I mean, people can just guess straight up by looking at the game. Like I think the two biggest influences that you guys probably see are RuneScape and Stardew Valley. For some reason, I just really have always been obsessed with pixel art. Like my favorite types of games on a personal level are games that are like either really low poly in 3D, so like low poly, atmospheric, or more retro looking. So games like Stardew Valley. A Short Hike is actually probably one of my favorite games. It's like 3D pixel art. So I've just always been attracted to that style. And then like the games that I have the most time in the last year, if you look at like my Steam history, like I think Vampire Survivors is really high up there. Stardew Valley, Spiritfarer, I really like that game too. So yeah, my personal preference in gaming, which I get to really influence the game, obviously, is games around that. I never was really a fan of like MOBAs or League of Legends or FPSs myself. So we're not really building a game for that audience. We're building a game that really like these games like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, Farmville.
Okay.
I also love Goat Simulator. I'm not gonna lie.
Goat Simulator.
Yeah, Stanley Parable too.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Will we lose everything in chapter 2? No, not at all. Okay. So we were actually calling before chapter 1 like the prologue. It was before the story started. So from now on, we're just continuing to grow and add chapters like a book, right? Cute. Okay. Another really fun idea. well, we have a gym for similar effects, like the sauna. It's kind of cool.
I
Although
like that idea.
I also feel like the gym depletes your energy though in real life. Well,
Makes sense longer. Yeah, so we've been talking about like a secondary loop now. So transparently to give you guys an idea of like what we're thinking about with the pixel token is we're going to introduce a secondary game loop, which a game loop is like a core mechanic. And we're really into the idea of pets, so we've been planning and kind of thinking about that stuff. But essentially, this pixel token will be really involved with that secondary mechanic and will involve an area like that essentially. So you might see something like that.
okay. Will you do some extra rare drop? For example, try to forge a sword for 50 iron with a 15% chance of success. Can you imagine that though? You use like 50 iron and you get nothing from it. I don't know if we'll do something this severe, but we do have stuff like this, like your
We have an
chance.
event coming. I can't speak too much into it, but we have something coming up that's very similar to this. So we're very excited about that.
It's similar, but you're not going to lose.
You won't lose anything.
You're not going to lose. You will
Yeah,
gain.
there'll be
but
really rare drops.
exactly. I'm excited for that one. Oh, I wish we could share.
That one's huge. We're really excited.
That person that's like, sorry, I can't tell you, but I'm really excited for it. Okay. And then will there be an in-game market where people can post their loots, I guess?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess.
So eventually, like what we like right now is actually we like that trading is a bit less liquid because it favors real players who are willing to put time and energy into trading right now. As we work on more and more bot prevention. So that's another word too that we should probably speak on. So yeah, we are probably going to ramp up the bot detection a bit. We already have it in the game. We're actually filtering a good amount already. The reality is anytime you make a game like this, and this is something that literally every multiplayer game struggles with, I think at one point RuneScape was about like 60% bots. It's actually pretty insane how much of an issue this is in the general space. But we will say the detection is getting better and better in terms of enterprise solutions available. We've been working with an enterprise solution to filter out bots. And what's really cool is they can actually train on our data too. So we're getting that set up right now where they'll actually be able to like look at our in-game behavior, and they have like millions of other users, or like honestly billions of other users they've been training data on as well too. So yeah, they have a pretty good system for that once we get that data input. So yeah, we might bump up the level requirement for trading in the short term, and then we're probably going to go much harder and kind of ban trading in game if you have a certain bot score that we've detected, and we'll add like a manual repeal process that way too. But yeah, we have plans in place for that. We're already working with enterprise partners. We agree it's a pretty high priority.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking. Okay. It's real life, guys. Real life. Okay. So first we have to create an app to put on the app store. But I'm not sure if you heard about like the recent things with Apple and all of that, making it quite difficult for Web3 companies to list on their stores. Also, I read I watched a TikTok this morning about Coinbase and Apple kind of going head to head on them trying to take a percentage of gas fees, which isn't really how it all works. So there's a lot of
Coinbase wallet is essentially kind of banned from the App Store right now. So what we like, instead of betting all of our or putting all of our eggs in the basket of like getting on the App Store. The App Store is great for distribution for casual games. There's no denying that. That's how most casual games get distributed right now. But what we really like is like the idea of mobile in browser. We're not that far away from that, and that actually might become more of a priority in the short term as well. We can get higher activation. If you share the link on Twitter, people can go in directly to, because a lot of our core audience is built on Twitter, and a lot of our top of funnels on Twitter too. So when we're thinking about growth, we're always thinking about that kind of stuff. Believe me, we're definitely thinking about that. Essentially, like our high level strategy over the next 2 months is like, okay, get focused on retention, quietly build growth tools, and think about the next stage of like, okay, how do we get pixels in front of more people? And when we're thinking about more people, we're not thinking about Web3 people for that next stage of growth. We're thinking about Web2 people. Like, how can we, start to expose pixels to people who actually like the game, to people who would be playing this game in a Web2 manner? And how can we onboard people who actually know nothing about crypto or actually actively don't like crypto secretly into crypto, by showing them this game. So,
Just
making
trick
the
them
game
into
very accessible is important. A lot of people, in the Web3 space are used to playing games in browser, but not so much in the Web2 space. So we're very aware of that.
Yeah, and we just got another kind of follow-up question to that. So do we have a marketing plan for onboarding new players?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's like half what we're up to. So what we like better than marketing, it's I don't want to we're not trying to critique any other projects, but we've seen in the space is like there's a lot of money getting spent on ad spend in this space. And we actually think that's like kind of silly if you're a Web3 game. We see Web3 gaming as a really interesting way to actually have a competitive advantage against Web2 games. So Web2 gaming, how it typically works right now is you spend $1 million in product development, $10 million a month in advertising, and then you basically spend all the revenue that you make in game and you send it right back to Apple, you send it right back to Facebook, you send it right back to Google to acquire new users. We think it's extremely capital inefficient, and we actually see Web3 as really interesting disruption to the casual game industry, where instead you can actually offer token incentives to help or to allow your users to help you grow. And there's a really interesting aligned incentive that way too. So we're really focused on organic growth and product-driven growth, and ways that we can do that with token incentives more so than marketing. Like marketing can be a money pit that just we don't see as necessary in the space. Like again, we've achieved all of this growth on, I think we've spent like $6,000 year to date on marketing, which if you compare that to others in the space, yeah, like that's all I'll say. Like I just to give you a sense of it, and this is just our approach, like a bunch of other projects are taking different approaches. They want to acquire, whales in Web3. So they're spending very targeted directed advertising on, targeting towards whales in the space. But our approach is like, no, we actually think we can have our users help us grow and reward them to do that. That's just our, mindset and ethos. But yeah, I would encourage you to look into, the space in general and like how, all these other projects are approaching this. There are some projects that basically every project in the space has been, spending a good amount of marketing. And you'd be surprised. Like a lot of projects will do like $1.5 million in like revenue from their NFT mint, and they'll spend like 500,000 to like 750,000 on marketing and customer acquisition, which doesn't leave so much to product development. We just have a different approach where, we're really focused on, the product development and the product driven growth. Like we think that's the best long-term investment for everybody, where if we can build a game that people actually want to play and want to share with other people, that's the winning solution for us.
Yeah, and then this comment's really interesting, word of mouth over marketing, but it's like word of mouth is marketing. It's just more of it's not a traditional marketing in the sense like it's not a billboard posted somewhere. We're giving our community and users incentives to want to share it with others, and so then it becomes marketing in a way.
Yeah, and this is the key thing. Okay, so we have a different stance on Web3 and what it should look like in the long run than maybe some other projects too. So we just want to make our stance clear on this as well. So we want to attract people to our game because they want to play our game. That's the biggest thing. And if these people don't want to play our game and they just want to earn, that's actually not the kind of user that we want to attract. So like if you're here playing this game and you're actually not having fun, you're not having a good time, like you actually might be wasting your time in this game. And we're trying to make that really clear too. Like you should like what we're doing, or at least like what we are doing in the long run. Like you guys have like some cool privilege here where we're putting on forums. We're like literally taking your direct feedback on what we should introduce into the game. And if you like that idea, like, okay, this is like a gaming company that is like really, really involved with their community. Like we're literally talking to you every single week. We're like, I'm in the Discord all the time, just like talking to you guys. That's not super normal in this industry. Like I'm very busy, but I still think this is an extremely high priority to get really close to you guys, get your feedback, and like develop the game in the way that you guys really want to see it too. It takes a lot of my time. It takes a lot of my energy, but I just think it's so important to what we're doing where, yeah, that's like extremely important. So then, yeah, I mean, like we're just trying to make that clear too. So, that might upset a certain Web3 audience. And we know when we say this, it might, but also there's tons of gamers out there that just like playing games because they enjoy them. And, you might have, a better time just being in Web3 in general, if you're looking for projects where the incentives align in both. And that being said, we still see benefits in Web3 in offering certain incentives to help us grow and help this project do better too. And that's why we're really interested in Web3. So with the pixel token in general, like that's how we kind of view the pixel token. We want to have a lot of value in game and be something that you actually want in game. And we want it to kind of be like a premium currency as well, akin to like Clash of Clans or all of that too. And then we want to use that to incentivize good behavior in the game. So for us, when we think about what games actually spend money on, games spend money on customer acquisition and they spend money on retention. So like we were saying, like the typical game lifestyle is they spend like $10 million a month on customer acquisition. We think we can actually do that with a token. Like we have this token that we've created and we can use this as a tool to acquire users or to like give you rewards to stay in the game and ecosystem better.
Okay. Some other questions we have here. Where is the new storage location? So I'm not going to tell you. You can find out. But there was a little drama around it this morning because someone might have done something stupid, but it's back. It's working. So go ask around the community. There is a little bit of an extra storage somewhere available in Terravilla. And Luke.
Yeah, wait, let's also answer this. So there was a bit of a bug with the KYC rewards. We're pushing an update with that today as soon as we push the claim dashboards as well too. So with the KYC, there were about I think there were like 600 or 700 people that submitted fake information. So we do know a lot of the people complaining in Discord are probably people that submitted fake information. So just know that there's probably a general sense of like upsetness from people who are trying to game and cheat the system. That's always going to happen in this kind of stuff. And they're also going to be very vocal in the Discord or in comments like this as well too. But I will say we also overlooked one corner case where like some people had abandoned the KYC and then filled out that form and then we reevaluated them based on strict requirements with the in-game data that we have, based on things like click rate, based on things like how much time they spend in the game. If they were in the game 18 hours a day, maybe not a real user. If they were in the game 24 hours a day, probably not a real user. If they had a string of usernames that was like NIU1, NIU2, NIU3, probably not a real user. So yeah, like if you didn't fill out the KYC, you abandoned it, and then we still detected you as a bot there, you're also going to be failed. But yeah, there was a corner case there as well. So then, yeah, in terms of bots in the game right now, we're already banning a bunch. We have prevention right now as we speak. We've been trying to not be too liberal with it because, what we do at the beginning is like if we detect you as a bot, we actually stop the login altogether. And it's, again, pretty funny because sometimes we'll have people who are literally botting coming into Discord being like, why'd you ban me? So just always note that when we have detection like this, you're going to see some noisy people who are upset that we kind of block these behaviors. But yeah, we're going to turn that up. Again, we're working with a partner to even turn that up and make it more accurate as well too. And we're going to ban trading and such if you're even like slightly suspected and require a manual appeal.
Okay. Let's look at other questions here. So what are non-landowner players building up or saving their berry to spend on?
Yeah, so we have a lot more coming with that. Like essentially also think about the larger things we're about to be introducing into the game. We really like the idea of Dutch auctions too. So when we introduce a new industry, potentially doing Dutch auctions of berry as well, kind of to, bring like the proper balance of like, market demand for certain industries and berry to account for things. So the idea of auctions is a really great way to kind of bring that out and balance like, okay, what are the actual like utilities and demands we've created in game. But yeah, we're really focused on the demand side of what we're generating too. Like that's why we're looking at spend so much. That's why we're actually overly conservative on berry as well with the initial airdrop. Just to give you some context into that, we were noticing that berry isn't really getting spent in the way that we want it to be. So yeah, we're basically going to be introducing a ton of new ways to have compelling reasons to burn berry moving forward.
will you open up an API endpoint for querying data about player trades?
That is interesting. Yeah, so that's what's really cool about Web3, like the liquidity that you're going to be seeing eventually. So early on, we think it's actually better for real players before we get a bit more sophisticated if we lower the trading liquidity to people who are actually willing to put in time and energy into trading. But we like the idea of like slowly moving towards that when we're ready and when the economy is ready for that too. And that's the interesting thing about Web3, right? Like, as more and more people play the game, there will be more liquidity for items and trading. And when we're talking about liquidity, we don't mean barrier liquidity. We literally mean like trading liquidity. Like for example, RuneScape is a really good example of an economy that has a ton of liquidity with their trading. They have a grand exchange, right? And they have so many users where, you can actually put on basically any random item into the grand exchange and get a price on it. We probably don't have enough users for that right now, truthfully. We don't also have that many items. There's, liquidity that will probably be, priced out more and more. But yeah, we like the idea of, kind of having a liquid trading for the short term.
And then there was a follow-up. They're talking about statistics a bit. So maybe like displaying this information somewhere.
Oh, interesting. I mean, yeah. So what's cool is the statistics actually will be available on chain. Like you can probably look at it now to see what the transactions are like. We put all this on chain.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Luke, I've got a really important question for you. Mm-hmm. Where did you store all of your pies?
They're all in my inventory right now. Yeah, I was really trying to get my farming level up the other day, and I'm not gonna lie, maybe I abused my power. Anybody that was coming through Terra Villa, I would stop them and demand a pie. I couldn't actually like force you to give me a pie, but I was telling people I was going to put them on a list if they didn't give me a pie. And
oh my gosh,
everyone who didn't give me a pie, you are on a list.
Yeah, in your head. Oh my god. Okay. Given the state of the market, how are the vibes of the NFT community at Art Basel?
Yeah, so what we're seeing with like the NFT community, I would say, is you're not seeing a random project, host a very good event anymore. The bull market was insane looking back. Like I think I went to this event at ETH Denver hosted by Bacon Coin that was hosting Tiesto, and Tiesto was playing to like 50 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that kind of stuff where you're not seeing that anymore. Like really crazy spend from like these really random projects. You're seeing like the blue chip projects stick around. You're seeing the higher value projects that have like very strong communities stick around. And then Art Basel is interesting too, where that event, I think last year I didn't go, but my understanding of it was actually very, very Web3 oriented. It didn't really feel like that this time.
That's kind of fun. Okay. This question we've kind of already touched on a bit, but I thought it would be worth bringing up. Future utilities for being planned for land holders versus not land holders, all of that. And maybe you can touch on our little plan we have coming up.
Which one? Oh, I mean, yeah, there's that one. Oh yeah, so we're about to start this new event. We think it's going to be pretty fun, where you're going to be able to submit your farm just in the form for right now, but we'll probably make this more sophisticated if it goes well. And again, these are like a bunch of experiments that we'll be running over the next month or two, where like we'll essentially do like a vote of the like 5 best looking farms. And if you're one of the 5 best looking farms or like most decorated or like best designed, we're going to put exclusive industries onto your land. So we think it's a really fun way to encourage like, decorating your land and to, kind of maybe burn some berry through decorations that way too, where it'll also create this cool incentive where if you have a decorated land, even if you're not like a top farm, you can have a chance to get a ton of exposure because you'll have this industry that basically nobody else has.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. We'll get that set up soon. And yeah, we've kind of, there's some repeat questions here. We've kind of covered everything really. The only thing we haven't really talked about is multi-accounting. So we're going to continue to create incentives for people to not multi-account. But this is something we will dive into a little bit.
Yeah, we'll say we're much more concerned about bot farms than we are like somebody who has 2 accounts. Like that's the main priority. Like we're looking more at that side of things. So, you know, if you wanted to have a second account, like don't ask, don't tell for right now. But we want to create incentive structures where having a higher level account outputs more energy or outputs more output anyways. So how we view it is like we want to create incentives to stick with one account longer.
Mhm.
And it's really like it's part incentive design on our end too. Like how do we make it so that it's beneficial to have, you know, one account that you level up and stick with longer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, this has been great. You guys have been asking really, really awesome questions. Luke, anything, any last
Yeah, I
things?
guess on that note, like there are future industries that are going to require higher levels, all that too. Like it will be beneficial and a huge in-game advantage to have a higher level.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do things like increasing the level requirements for trading eventually as well. Things like that.
Yeah. From my perspective and like what we have planned with all these incentives, like it might seem like you have a leg up right now, but it's kind of a waste of your time. So
Oh, the
yeah.
multi-accounting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, you're always going to try to like people are always going to try to exploit these types of games. We're very aware of that one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So if we missed any of your questions, throw them in Discord, tag a community team member, Farmhands or Lukerai, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And with that, we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.